absolutely. So Holkham is a country estate, and it's right on the North Norfolk coast. I mean, about as close as you can get. The estate is made up of 25,000 acres, so it's a big old estate.
Pretty immense.
I can't quite fathom what 25,000 acres is, but it sounds a lot. It's very much still a family home, and at the centre of the estate is Holkham Hall itself, which is still lived in by Lord and Lady Leicester and their family, which is amazing. And it's been in the same family since the 1750s, which is really unusual actually. There's been no sort of sale or anything like that. It's everything that's in the house is original to the house itself. It's a major agricultural estate, so we're a big grower of potatoes. So we supply to lots of UK, lots of UK supermarkets. And actually one of my favourite facts is that we actually grow the barley for the inside of Maltesers. Always think it's a good fact. Lots of people know Holkham, I think, for the beach. Like sort of wide panoramic, can't see anything for miles sort of beach. It's absolutely stunning, and that's part of Holkham Nature Reserve, and sort of preserving and looking after that landscape is a big part of what we do at Holkham. We've got lots of rare and precious habitats like sand marshes and sand dunes and salt marshes and that sort of thing. So that all contributes to the rich sort of wildlife that we have in that area of Norfolk. Aside from all of that, we've got 3 cafes, 2 on the beach, and one at the pool. Which you can imagine in the middle of summer, a very popular spot.
Yeah, I'm sure on a day like today, ordinarily, that would be pretty busy.
Let's not think about that.
No.
The Victoria is our sort of hotel. It's a beautiful sort of boutique inn, I suppose would be the traditional word to describe it. And then we have, in the middle of the summer, we have cycle hire, we have boat hire, we have a ropes course and a playground, which the children love. We have a brilliant team of gamekeepers that look after our herd of fallow deer that are on the estate and here in the background of gorgeous. And we have a big property department, because actually we have, I think it's about 270 residential properties that we rent out as well to local people that live and work locally. So that's a big part of what we do. And then obviously we do events. So that's sort of can be anything from concerts. We had Lionel with us a couple of years ago.
Brilliant.
We did, yeah. We do open air cinema, open air theatre, triathlons, our amazing Christmas events, which the hall gets decorated for Christmas, and that goes on throughout December. And then of course weddings, which is where I come in.
You've also won an award recently, is that right?
We've won a few awards actually, a few business awards and awards for our customer care team as well. So yeah, I really, we're trying not to, despite everything that's happened, trying not to lose sight of what a great year it's been for Holkham. So continue to celebrate those things. Yeah.
And I also note that it's used a lot for films as well, so also for TV industry, fashion industry. There must be quite a lot of highlights. Who are some of the amazing movies?
The 2 big films are The Duchess with Keira Knightley, so that was filmed in and Shakespeare in Love is the other big one. They use the beach, but actually I think there's a blog post coming up soon on all of the films that have been done at Holkham, which I'd be really very interested to read. Yes, there's all the little snippets that you kind of don't know about, so
little secret spaces.
Exactly.
So let's talk weddings. I mean, obviously for our viewers, it would be great for you to be able to tell them what makes Holkham magical for weddings. I mean, I know, but it would be nice to be able to talk that through and obviously share some of that magic. What's there.
Well, I always sort of say, think of Holkham as like a destination wedding, but you don't have to get on a plane. So we're sort of in the most idyllic spot right on the coast. We've got a really wide variety of spaces and different venues. So we've got 6 licensed venues. 4 of those are in the hall itself, so in the state rooms, and those rooms have always been used for entertaining. It's what they were designed for. So right from the marble hall, which is our sort of crown jewel, I suppose.
It's spectacular, isn't it?
It's absolutely amazing, and you can imagine when it's decorated for a wedding, a lot of people kind of walk in and get goosebumps, and there's been a few tears on when people first walk in for the first time. People get so emotional in the space. We can do outdoor weddings, which is a great thing to be able to offer. So we have a beautiful little garden folly called the Temple, which is tucked away in the woodlands. And
we're a little bit obsessed with the Temple.
Yeah, it's gorgeous, isn't it? Yeah, it's a lot of our favourite venues. So if people are brave enough to brave the British weather, it's well worth it, because the ceremonies we do up there are really pretty, and it's so hidden away and no one knows it's there really unless you're looking for it. So it's beautiful. And then we have the Lady Elizabeth wing, which is kind of our main venue. And for sort of much larger weddings, for sort of 300 plus, you could do big ceremonies in there. But also it's our kind of, after the ceremony, it's our reception space, along with 3 marquee sites. So there's lots going on.
Amazing.
But we only ever do 1 wedding a day. So, you know, although we've got 6 different sort of spaces, we do make sure it's really special.
Yeah, and that's quite important, isn't it? So you can give undivided attention and, you know, not end up tripping up over guests and things like that. So no, that's a good thing to know, actually.
Yeah. And then of course we have 3,000 acres of parkland, which is sort of the backdrop for your photographs. And
got to mention that.
The beach as well. So not many stately homes have a beach. So you can go down there and have your photographs done on the wedding day. Or you might choose to use the beach for sort of a pre or post wedding celebration. There's all sorts of different ways you can include the beach in the wedding day, because actually, as I said, that's what lots of people know Holkham for. So it's really nice to include that as part of it.
And that's definitely was one of my questions, actually, is how can you know the bride and groom, you know, and maybe with their family, enjoy the beach and what it has to offer as part of the wedding experience, whether it's prior or, you know, post, maybe a morning breakfast or something like that. I mean, for instance, could ceremony create a nice space for them on the beach? I know it's an open beach, but we could make this little zone for them with cushions and throws and, you know, give it a bit of kind of boho feel, and they could all go down there and have that little bit of an extended family celebration, perhaps with a little picnic basket from Holkham, something like that. I mean, it's all of those added extras. I think it can make it a special experience.
And I think, you know, often you'll hear brides and grooms talking about what they do on the morning of their wedding, and perhaps, you know, a bridesmaid yoga session on the beach with a beautiful breakfast, or the boys do a run on the beach. It's a bit more energetic, but there's lots of options. And often sort of the day after the wedding, we've got one of our cafes down there, so they could meet all of their guests there, say on the Sunday, have sort of bacon butties and a cup of coffee, and then all go to the beach and carry on sort of the party there. So it's a nice way to extend the wedding weekend, really.
Yeah, and I think going back to what you said before about destination weddings, having it in the UK is definitely an option. And, you know, for whatever reason, if going elsewhere is not for you, it's definitely finding places like, not, you know, Holkham that actually can offer that bit more with having that beach experience. Absolutely. You've also got all the beach huts along there as well.
Yes, on Wells Beach.
You can pick and choose that kind of theme and look for your photos, whether you want that kind of vibe or whether you want something much more kind of natural, boho. Anything's possible, it seems, with such a big beach to play with.
Totally. And we own some of those beach huts as well, so you could hire one of those or picnic there and do beach games and rounders and all that sort of thing. Again, the day after, it's a great way to end the weekend. So
amazing, fantastic. And going back to the temple, because as I mentioned, we are a little bit obsessed with that ceremony, and it just seems so idyllic. Like you say, it's set in the woods. It's part obviously of the estate, but it feels very much kind of on its own, quite secluded. So I'm imagining a wedding could be pretty, you know, kind of remote, and feeling that you've kind of just landed somewhere, and, you know, it's special in that respect. How many people does it hold? I know it's quite an intimate small space, but that's also quite nice. That's the charm of it in many ways.
It is. Absolutely. So it's down a little track, and the temple itself holds, if you wanted to do a ceremony just inside, it holds sort of 20-25 people and that sort of thing. So for a really small wedding, you could get married either inside or out, and then do sort of drinks and canopies on the portico, and that could be with a fire pit or something like that for the winter weddings. We did one in December, which was beautiful. And then whilst that's happening, we relay inside, and you head back inside for supper, and there's sort of a fire and lots of candlelight. But of course, if you wanted a larger wedding up there, then as long as the couple are standing on the portico, it's still a legal ceremony, so your guests can then sit on the grass area in front, and that would be a much larger wedding.
Oh god, fantastic. I didn't actually know that. Absolutely. So great. Good. I'm glad we asked that question.
And you could do a marquee up there as well.
Oh,
You
so
can do a
you
marquee
could
up
pretty
there
much
as well.
stay
So
in that zone and enjoy
exactly.
that whole space.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
exactly.
I mean, it just keeps giving. There's so many nice options. Another area that I wanted to talk about was the walled garden. I know that's something you said that was going through different renovations, but I think is some of that an option from a wedding point of view as well? Maybe you could describe that space.
Sure. So the walled garden is 6 acres, and it's split into rooms, I suppose. So each room perhaps has a different theme. So one, for example, is the kitchen garden. Our room that we use for weddings is just called the event room, and it's a lovely big stretch of open grass, so perfect for a marquee. And then round the outside are sort of beautiful rose borders and that sort of thing. So it's really pretty. I have to say it's my favourite venue. And it's currently undergoing quite a big restoration project. So over the next several years, it's an ongoing project. Different areas of the garden are being restored, and we're hoping there might be some future opportunities for more wedding venues up there, but watch this space on that one.
That sounds good. But the part you mentioned, the event space, is still available?
That's absolutely still available. Yeah, absolutely. And because it's within a walled garden, it's always a few degrees warmer. You're quite protected in there.
Yeah, that's
and it's
true.
really nice. It's beautiful. I mean, as I said, one of my favourites, and your guests can wander around the walled garden when it's closed to the public and then make the most of it. So
that's definitely a nice thing to do. I love the idea of that. I think I could tick all of these boxes in terms of reusing my own wedding. So we worked very creatively with couples to reimagine what a wedding is, and for us it's about doing that extra, finding that unique thing, and being able to work with them with their own vision and think about how we can give that experience that bit extra for them, and also for the guests to remember forever. How flexible is Holkham in adapting spaces? So whether it's outdoor space, indoor space. So for instance, moving furniture around or adding decor, bringing props, maybe a glitter ball here or there, or something more like an art installation, obviously within reason, or a floral installation, really just having those with not always bridal related companies, but companies that work on events and things like that. So just bringing that little bit extra into Holkham, and how would we be able to work with you? Sorry, long question.
No, that's all right. I think really we're as flexible as you need us to be. Obviously the hall is the one area that's perhaps slightly more restricted, but equally it's so beautifully decorated with the most amazing artwork, so you don't necessarily want to fight against that. Exactly. But big trees, we kind of love the sort of tropical versus the classical in the hall, all that sort of thing. Absolutely fine. The Lady Elizabeth wing, go for it.
Yes,
we love seeing different things in there. Yeah, it's a totally blank canvas venue, and we've only been doing weddings in there since 2016, so it's still a relatively new venue, and I think there's lots more we're going to see in there over the next few years of how different couples interpret the space, and using the beautiful awnings across the ceiling to hang things from. There's so many different things we can do in there, so we are all for it.
I know you also offer a wedding package, and that would cover everything within the mix, which is great for some people. But obviously, in terms of touching on what we've just talked about, you're obviously open to other suppliers, and it doesn't have to be a set of suppliers that you work with. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely. In terms of decoration and that sort of thing, we're always willing to hear about new people and work with them as well. So definitely.
Good. So, how does it work once you have made a booking? How do you work with the couple or perhaps their planner? What steps? What do they need to know that you've got their back, and to take away those kind of pressures and those stresses that go along with it?
So we have sort of an in-house coordinator and planner that we work with right from the moment you sign your contract all the way through to the day of the wedding. So we draw up floor plans, working with the couple and the planner, try out different layouts. We do what's called an event form, which is absolutely everything you could possibly imagine,
really,
on one form, so that everybody's working from the same hymn sheet. And Miranda, our wedding planner, will usually meet couples and their planners perhaps 3, 4, as many times as they like, really, and bring up parents, anyone you perhaps would like to see the venue. But we're always at the end of the phone. We stay in touch with our couples, especially at times like this when it's so crucial.
Of course.
Obviously Instagram and that sort of thing is so useful for ideas and seeing what other people are doing as well. So we're here to support all the way through the process. No question is too silly. We've heard them all. So
I bet you have. I bet. And then in terms of the accommodation, obviously on the estate, you've got various options, I think. And then elsewhere, is that something you can talk about and let obviously people know what those options are?
Absolutely. So the Victoria is our sort of on-site hotel, and that has 10 bedrooms that the couple can hire exclusively, and that's in a separate little building called the Ancient House, so it means it's only the bride and groom and their guests in there, which is lovely. One of those is also a bridal suite, so it's a bit bigger for the brides and bridesmaids to get ready on the morning of the wedding. They can also do rehearsal dinner the night before. They can do an usher's lunch, breakfast in bed for the bride, all that sort of thing. So it's a really nice extra touch. It's right on the entrance to Holkham. And then we've got 4 self-catering lodges across the estate. The main one being somewhere called the Triumphal Arch, which is actually originally sort of the gateway to the estate. You would have driven underneath it.
Oh, right.
And now the bedroom sits above the archway, so it's absolute. I mean, the views are stunning. You lie in bed and you can see the full driveway of the estate and the sea in the background. So
it's gorgeous.
It's pretty special. But we've renovated that recently as a bridal suite, so it's got a beautiful 4-poster bed in it. And if you wanted to stay in Norfolk for the week after your wedding, it's a perfect sort of bolt hole really to explore Norfolk from. And then in the whole area, there's lots of wonderful hotels, boutique hotels, Airbnbs. We can get some amazing Airbnbs. We're a holiday area. There's a lot of variety to suit lots of different budgets. And there's a big hotel in Burnham Market, which has got 60 bedrooms. If you did want everybody in one place, that's 3 miles away. So
it's a really amazing destination to go.
It is, yeah.
And you've got Sandringham quite close by as well.
Sandringham's sort of, almost a neighbouring estate, not quite, because everything in Norfolk's so spread out and
sure
in between, but yes, pretty close. That's very close. And Houghton Hall as well is the other one that's very nearby as well. So often you'll find guests come and make sort of choose to stay in Norfolk as well whilst they're here and have a holiday themselves. So.
Make the best of it. Well, you've got the weather for it as well. So obviously at the moment things are slightly different to the way they would be normally. How are people making inquiries with you, and do you are you taking bookings?
We absolutely are. We are still taking inquiries totally in the normal way, whether that's by email or by phone or through our website directly. And we're here to help as much as we can. We have a virtual show round that we've done on our Instagram, which hopefully gives a bit of a flavour.
We need that. Yeah.
You do, and it's really hard for couples at the moment. We've got this time now when actually people can be doing wedding planning, and we don't want there sort of to be barriers to that. So we are here at the end of the phone after you've watched the virtual show round to chat through more specifically how Holkham might work for their special day. And then we're also offering sort of a special money back guarantee at the moment as well, so that if somebody does want to book without seeing the venue, which obviously at the moment we can't do, then they can do so, but once we reopen they've got 14 days for a full refund if they come and see us.
That's such a good idea, because I think people do want to feel they're making progress, and researching is one thing, but actually being able to I feel it, even though we might not be there, I'm obviously seeing it, and there feels like there's something there. So it's good for them to be able to have that confidence that, for whatever reason, if it doesn't turn out, that you're offering that. That's amazing. That's really good. But
and I have confidence that
exactly. I'm sure they won't call it back. So I'm sure, obviously, given the situation we were just talking about, things are quite difficult for you in terms of postponement. I'm sure you've had to postpone many weddings. Have people decided to move it a year, or have people then switched from maybe spring, summer weddings into winter, autumn weddings?
It's a real mixture, to be honest. Some people just want to get married as soon as possible. So they might have chosen to move from sort of May or June through to later this year, or even sort of January, February next year. Some have decided, actually, we wanted a summer wedding and therefore we're going to wait another year.
Worth the wait.
A real variety. I think for those couples that have chosen to move and sort of changed season, it's sort of, we're here to help them understand that they don't need to totally rethink the wedding. There's a few small changes that they can make, whether that's taking their summer wedding palette and just deepening a couple of shades to bring in those sort of rich, warm tones, whether it's rethinking lighting. If you were relying on lots of natural light, actually, it might be a trip to IKEA for lots of tea lights and filling the venue with that. So there's lots you can do, swapping cocktails, summer spritzers to something more sort of cinnamon, warm flavour. favours, that sort of thing. So there's a few small tweaks you can do, I think, if you are changing season quite easily, to sort of move it into a different style wedding.
And definitely in terms of the dress and the kind of outfit,
absolutely,
you've just got more options then to layer on and buy, you know, that extra little piece that's an extra,
add the accessories,
warm, and you know, all of those accessories, you'll wear them again, if not you wear the dress again anyway. So I guess it's just an added bonus to buy a few more trinkets and things. I mean, I guess there's other like advantages as well, obviously in terms of guests being available. Perhaps things are harder in the summer because obviously you've got a lot of guests who maybe have holidays and commitments, whereas maybe they're more available in the autumn as well. So yeah, it's definitely a nice time of year. I got married in December and it was freezing, but it was frosty, and it was exactly the kind of day that we'd hoped it to be. It was beautiful sunshine, and you know what, we're winter people anyway. For us, it was the ideal, but for some people, I think it's just getting excited about a switch in season. If you're wanting to get married sooner rather than later, then you know you can actually still have it your way, and like you say, layer in those extra colours and those extra textures, and just celebrate, have the fire on, and you know. It's all about the connection at the end of the day.
And I think you have to remember that marriage is marriage, whatever season you do it in. You know, your family and friends, at least by then, will hopefully be healthy and happy and just wanting to celebrate with you. And that's ultimately why you're doing it. So. Yeah,
for sure. So do you have any insider tips for brides and grooms really choosing a venue that is right for them? You know, what do you find that people are looking for that really make that kind of decision for them? What would you advise?
I think to start with, right when you start looking for a venue, try not to go and see 10 different venues. Try and narrow it down before then. I always say, you know, pick maybe 3 or 4 venues that you would really like to go and see. My other big tip is never go, personally, I think never go with one date in mind, because you're setting yourself up for failure right from the start.
100%, yeah.
Have an idea of season if you want to. You know, you might want a Saturday over a Friday, but try and be as open-minded as possible, because the chance of you getting your photographer, your caterer, your florist and your venue all lined up on the same day. Unless you're planning it really far out and you've got a date for a sentimental reason, obviously.
Of course, yeah.
Do as much research on the venue as you can beforehand. You know, look at things like Instagram, because actually you'll get a real feel for the kind of weddings that those venues do, and whether it's the kind of style that you're looking for, you know, well before you go as well. And actually looking at those Instagrams might lead to other questions as well. So it's a real sort of balancing act, I think, between doing your research but also coming feeling excited and not quite knowing what you're going to see yet.
Yeah, exactly. And is there any questions you think are important to ask, just to kind of be clear about what the expectations would be and things like that?
I think be clear on your timings. Every venue is slightly different in the way that they work with timings. We're obviously a family home, so you know, timings are quite important for us, so that the families still have their sort of privacy and that sort of thing. Understand what you have to do to confirm. You know, is it a contract? Is it putting down a deposit? How can you hold a date if you want a little bit longer to think about it? And also what suppliers you can bring in yourself, and what you might need to choose from an approved list. I think approved lists are a great way of venues making sure that the people that are delivering the weddings are tried and tested people that everyone knows. So, but it's just making sure you understand and you're clear on what that sort of situation is.
Okay, that sounds like good advice to me. And then obviously at the moment people have got that little bit more downtime, and maybe they've also just got engaged, or they've now got sort of a longer time to wait for their actual wedding. What sorts of things could a couple be thinking about? Obviously venue being one of them, just that they can start to action from home. What, you know, have you got any thoughts on that?
So venue hunting, as you said, can be done from home easily, and most venues are offering sort of calls or video chats, so you can actually see and chat to the person, because actually sometimes putting a face to a name makes a big difference.
Yeah, for sure.
Guest list, I think you can definitely be thinking about your guest list. Again, venues will need to know roughly what numbers you're looking at before you go and see them, so you can sort of spend some time looking at your guest list, who might be full day guests, who might be evening guests. There's a lot you can do with sort of your stationery, that side of things. Most of that is done digitally now, so you might look for different designers on Instagram. You might start to think about which elements you like, save the dates, invitations, detail pages, all that sort of thing can all be done quite easily. Pinterest boards, you know, florists will always want to see Pinterest boards. So you can have a really good think about what represents you as a couple and what sort of style and designs you would like for your wedding. And you know, if you've got your venue booked already, you know, the wedding team can still be working on floor plans with you. You can still be liaising with all your suppliers. Everyone's, as far as I know, certainly from Holkham, everyone's still working and there to chat and arrange video and planning calls virtually rather than face to face.
Yeah, and so many people obviously in the industry are available a bit more so now than they perhaps would be. I mean, we're working quite a lot with clients on concepts, you know, really pushing those kind of ideas down that, you know, we can now have a real kind of dialogue with them. Maybe they're a bit more freed up than they were before. So from a creative point of view, I feel that weddings might start to get that bit more creative after lockdown, or people really don't hone in on making it personal for them. And
I think, you know, this time of year, actually, if we were in normal circumstances, we'd be going into the height of the season and actually your suppliers wouldn't be so available. So you've got to kind of see that as a positive and make the most of it.
Yeah,
you've got them to chat to.
That's definitely a huge silver lining, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And then what have you noticed has been a trend, or has been sort of something that's building momentum, or something quite interesting that you've noticed shift and switch that, you know, we can give some insights as to what's coming our way, or bride's way, groom's way, you know, or from a venue point of view, what decor people are looking for.
The big thing we're seeing come through, and it's probably the generation that are now getting married, you know, millennials, is that sustainability is becoming more and more important for couples when they're looking for venues and different suppliers. So, which for us at Holkham is great, because our sort of vision for 2020 is to be the leading and pioneering rural estate in terms of sustainability. So it really feeds.
Oh, I've lost you. You're frozen.
Any better?
Are you back?
Quite a scary fact, I think, is that one wedding can produce the same CO2 emissions as 5 people do in a year, which is terrifying.
That is insane.
Yeah, it's scary. So I think, you know, couples are looking for venues that don't necessarily need great lavish decorations that are just going to end up in landfill. It's a balance.
Absolutely.
I think.
That's so important.
Totally. And, you know, looking at, you know, for us at Holkham, you might use wildflowers from our farms. You might use venison and beef as part of the menu that are from the nature reserve. And something I really love the idea of actually is that you can offset your carbon footprint of your wedding by doing sort of a tree planting session, for example.
Oh, I love that.
On the day after the wedding. So
can you do that there with
we can indeed, yeah.
Tell me that again, so they can come.
So the day after your wedding, for example, you might again arrange bacon butties and coffee and all meet somewhere on the estate, wherever our foresters tell us they are required, and you have a bit of a tree planting sort of party the day after the wedding, and that offsets your wedding, your carbon footprint of your wedding. And I think, you know, that sort of thing we're going to see more and more coming through. It's really important to couples, I think, that sort of zero waste aspect is thought about, because they can be so wasteful weddings. So
I mean, that's hugely important currently as well. Everybody's really thinking about, you know, how we live, what our lifestyles, you know, and everything's going so fast that we just haven't had time to really think about this. And, you know, it's building momentum naturally. Of course it has to. But for now, I think it's something that everybody is spending a little bit more time and really being mindful of. So that is an amazing advantage that you have there.
Totally. And I think as we go into 21, we'll start to see that coming through even more. So definitely will be on the rise, I think, sustainability.
Wonderful, wonderful. So it was amazing to talk to you. If anyone has got any questions, I'm just going to skim through. Please drop us a quick question. Yeah, I mean, everyone's loving the chat. Love the Maltesers reference.
It's one I only learned that recently. It's definitely a top tip, I think. It'd be quite fun to do your wedding favours as Maltesers. Somehow incorporate them.
You can use the Maltesers from the land, the beef from the land.
I love that.
Oh, well, thank you so much for being on
Thank
today with us.
you.
And you deserve that gin and tonic.
Absolutely, that's where I'm headed, for sure.
And we'll definitely catch up soon. And just for the viewers, this Insta Live will be available for 24 hours. If you want to rewatch it, take notes. And also we'll pop it on the blog as well on the website. So thank you so much to everyone for watching. And thank you again to Belle.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Take care. Feeling the love. Take care. Bye.